Before we bring Ms. Bhargav to speak, Manoj wants to say just a couple of words because his mom is going to speak.
Actually, no. I had a request for all of you, and I know I am the kind of the younger ones, and I'm new to IDCA. But one of the things I have been noticing that there's a lot of benefit all of you get from participating in the IDCA conferences, the networking opportunities, the being able to understand about new projects. What we would like from IDCA's perspective is when you have had a benefit, a new network connection, like for example, Shiklaji, you're going to be working with Rajji there, or any other benefit you've received, please let us know. That way because it costs a lot of energy and money to keep these conferences going. So when we go back to the board members, our members, and the people who fund us, we need to be able to show that what they are doing, trusting Mohanji and JG and Forrestji with the money and the time, is actually being beneficial for the actual cause. And I know it's something which I'm very, very interested in doing. I would like to send a questionnaire, but if there are any other methods you think would be useful for us to gather that information from you, let us know. But we would like to do that very, very soon, so we know this conference, how it impacted you. And we want to do that for every conference. Is that good enough?
Yes. Thank you, Manoj. And here's Ms. Chandrakar.
I'd just like to add one comment to that, Jay.
Yeah.
And basically, something that I'm been finding very useful is that every year I come, I try and think of taking up some small or large task, which I say, okay, I will try and get it accomplished by next year for the next conference. And I think for me, that sequence. So I think one of the things for everyone would be think of something small or large that you can do and that you can talk about at the next conference.
Yeah.
And in that sense, you build involvement. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think this is in line with the, sort of in line with the, what Clinton does, Bill Clinton, and the global initiatives. Every time they have that September gathering, people take some commitments that they will commit, they will do this over the next year, next 4 years or 3 years or whatever. So some sort of commitment that we can take, and we can post it on our website. These are the type of commitments that the people are taking to take the IDCA mission forward as the development of India, eliminating the poverty in India, those missions forward. So I think that's a good idea. Maybe I know there's a session this afternoon from 2 o'clock onwards. And I'm sorry, I won't be able to stay for that one, but I think a lot of you will be here to take do some thinking as to what can you commit to take that promise or take that initiative that you will get it done by the next year, or at least report back on progress next year. Way forward will be at 2 o'clock onwards this afternoon. So I think that'll be a good session. Yeah, and I'm going to hand it over to Ms.
Hello. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
I have great pleasure to be here to present Adarsh Mahila Agrodyog's work, that is the NGO's work, in eradicating poverty through holistic empowerment, women empowerment. I would like to thank Dr. Jain and IDCA for giving me the opportunity. Adarsh Mahila Agrodyog, or AMGU, was established in 1976 with the main objective of making women self-reliant. Most of our work is done at the grassroots level in the rural areas, covering 152 villages of Latur district. Half the sky. It is truly known, this is a Chinese proverb, that women hold half the sky. And you can read the reports of United Nations Development Program, then World Bank study and UNICEF report. Different surveys and studies conducted over the past decade have proven importance of women's empowerment to global development. They show how women's empowerment raises economic productivity, contributes to improved health and nutrition, reduces infant mortality, and creates a better future for the next generation. Our 35 plus years of work has consistently proven the same things. The important fact we have discovered is that we can't work on just one or two of these issues. The challenges of women empowerment have to be considered and solved holistically. To continue to sustain the progress we have made through generations and generations to come and expand rapidly on the current successes, it is imperative to consider that the approach has to be holistic, and that the focus has to be across the women's entire lifespans. There are many different issues at different points of their lives, as adolescent girls or married women or pregnant women and so on. These learnings sometimes happen by accident and sometimes were through conscious thinking. Over the last 35 years, as we discovered the issues of a given time, we tried to find solutions. Over time, it became clear to us that many of the problems were connected and many of the solutions also overlap. Let me speak now the main categories of issues we have seen and discuss how we have attempted to solve them with success. That is, first is economic self-reliance. We operate 335 self-help groups of women in 40 villages. 70% of the 3,800 women are below the poverty line. About $435,000 is given in loan to the members for starting business that help them achieve economic independence and begin on a path of upward mobility. There has been 100% loan repayment with no defaults at all. Along with financial help, they are also given education about banking and account keeping. Right now, our work of SHGs of women is limited to only 40 villages. The amazing successes we have had, we would like to spread to the remaining villages. And not only that, we would like to spread it beyond the 152 villages. Of course, that takes a lot of resources, people, funding, time, planning, etc. We are hoping we can manage it. In addition to the SHGs, we run 79 adolescent girl groups, AGGs, with over 800 members. UNICEF has given these girls around $3,200 in seed money so far, and now they have started many businesses. The girls have savings of over $3,000. This slide shows upward economic mobility. This slide shows the change which Meena Gaikwad was able to make in her living conditions during the past 10 years. As you can see, she and her family lived in the poorest of homes, a thatched hut. Today, she lives in a fully constructed cemented house that is considered a huge step towards financial success. Not only that, she has already paid for it completely. That is, no loans at all. Fully paid by the money she made from her multiple businesses, all started with SHG and AMGU help. Here is another example of member Surekha Kamble. Her story is almost identical to the previous case. Some of the women were even poorer than these examples. They and their families had to go and live with relatives or friends during the monsoons because of the leaking hut roofs. Thus, we are quite happy that 20 to 30% of women members have achieved similar success, and the numbers keep climbing. We know there is a long way to go, but still we hope to continue with this success. Now the next one is literacy and vocational guidance, vocational training. So far we have trained 11,880 women in different vocations. Learning these various skills has helped them become economically self-reliant. Some of these skills include tailoring, machine and hand embroidery, making bags and purses, animal rearing, kitchen gardens, and vermicomposting. About 70% of the women are now literate and have banking knowledge. Adolescent girls have also been trained in those above mentioned areas. Here are some, you may say, examples of what they are doing. What has been interesting to see as the SHG women's business have taken off and financial success have become obvious. The men and other family members have started to share in the work to sustain these businesses. And that has slowly raised the status of these women. Maybe not equal status always, that is the ultimate utopian goal, but the scope of the status increase has been an eye-opener. Clearly, financial independence is one of the key ingredients in women empowerment. Legal, social, and governance awareness. ANGO organizes workshops to educate women about current laws in place for female protection. The SHG women are now aware of the illegal practices like human trafficking. They saved an adolescent girl from being trafficked purely on their own recognition and initiative due to our training. Our work has become so trusted and well known that in some instances, courts and authorities from other districts have asked specifically for our help. For example, NGO has given the responsibility of investigating the false parental claims made towards 13 rescued girls from prostitution. We work with some of the most horrific cases towards rehabilitation, like the 11-year girl who was pregnant. These cases are still pending, but worse, the trafficking still continued. Women and adolescent girls are now aware of the consequences of child marriages and unanimously and successfully they stop them. Now the girls groups also take initiative in stopping the child marriages. For social awareness, we present the Marathi play Mulgi Zali Ho, that is a girl is born, in different villages. I have given myself 39 performances of this play as one-woman show and additionally 50 group performances. It is presented to the whole community, to both men and women of all ages, focusing on gender sensitization. The reaction of women has been intensely emotional, but interestingly, the discussion after the plays clearly have been eye-opening for both the community and us. It definitely seems to have profound impact on society towards recognizing and understanding women's issues. NGO helps women who are victims of domestic violence by giving them legal, financial, and psychological support through our Sadbhavna Counseling, Family Counseling Center. We registered 2,490 cases of domestic violence with the support and cooperation of the local police and solved 50% of these cases. The others are pending in court. Governance awareness. NGO educates women on the rights and duties of elected officials in the local government. In the past, these women were officials in name only. The actual governing jobs were done by their male relatives. Because of our education, about 30% of the elected women now actively perform their duties. They are given equal rights like sitting at the table instead of on the floor and performing flag hoisting. More women are now attending the town hall meeting, that is Mahila Gram Sabha, specially held for women, where they are able to discuss community issues and problems and take decisions about solving them. Health and sex education. More than 2 lakhs people from 152 villages have been educated in health, various health issues, 100% vaccination, then about the tuberculosis, there was the awareness, then 140 patients were completely cured. And our ongoing and very important project is, that is kitchen gardens. That is most successful. Women grow vegetables, they consume it, and they share and they sell. So the anemic cases are reduced to 5%. The entire family and community health has improved dramatically. Deepshika is our unique program for adolescent girls, educating them about the human reproductive system. It's very difficult to talk about the hygiene of the reproductive system in the villages. Our female volunteer trainers did this work so effectively that the work continues even today, though UNICEF has stopped the funding. It includes HIV and AIDS awareness also. We reached 12,900 adolescent girls and boys. Sustainability. All SHG women, adolescent boys and girls are involved in our environmental projects and sustainability. Kitchen Gardens is one of our most important and far-reaching program. In one of the villages, with the help of our volunteer, the Sarpanch, and all the villagers, we planted 5,000 trees, and that was a great success. People are now very aware of organic farming. They are forming the soak pits. They are aware of the tanks by farmers. These are some of the kitchen gardens. Hopefully, I have been able to show how all the issues are correlated. That the solution for sustained women development is to look at their lives and problems in their entirety and solve them holistically. There are still many difficulties and obstacles in our way, and we have miles to go. And we promise to strive, to seek, to find, and not to end. My granddaughter Sanika Bhargava will be speaking next. She has been inspired by my work and wants to share her thoughts about the importance of youth involvement in finding solutions to these problems.
The scary part is I don't know what she's going to be saying.
Good afternoon. That's a pretty tough act to follow. I'm Sanika Bhargava. As she said, I have the privilege of being her granddaughter. I'm 16 years old. I'm a senior in high school. Before I start, I do want to say there's a lot of experience in this room, and my few years definitely pales in comparison, but I hope I'll be able to offer some insights the way I look at things from the other side of the generation. So growing up in the US, you do hear about a lot of these problems that exist in the developing world, but oftentimes you don't hear about any of the solutions that are being implemented. Even though I grew up of Indian origin, I still felt removed from a lot of these situations. They definitely affected me in some way, but what could I do? I didn't feel like I could do anything. Then about 9 years ago, I was about 7 years old, and I agreed to help my grandmother type up her resume. I didn't know what I was in for. A few pages, a few hours, many pages later, I was completely overwhelmed by the sheer length of the list of all of these accomplishments, and I thought one person couldn't possibly have done all of this.